Review copy provided by PlayStation.
I know you're in there, please! Help me, you can't leave me here! Open the door! Open the door!
Nioh 2 is a prime example of an iterative video game sequel. It takes an if it isn't broke, don't fix it mentality to a lot of what is great about the original game, while rightfully improving on key weak points. New additions, while not always huge, each contribute in their own way and add up to something significant when brought together. Yet for as great as Nioh 2 is, it doesn't quite have the same bold or exciting presence of the original. The game chooses a safer path, and while it treads that path well, when it does fall into past mistakes, it becomes all the more noticeable. Nioh 2 is once again an interesting twist on the style popularized by From Software. Combat requires precise attacking, dodging, blocking, and careful stamina management. Each melee weapon can be used in 3 different stances, each having their own strengths and weaknesses. Stamina can be recovered quickly by appropriately timing a button press, known as a key pulse, a maneuver essential to performing well during a fight. The sequel isn't content with just retreading the same ground, however, introducing new mechanics that add notable tension. One of the most crucial is the burst counter, which stops specific powerful enemy attacks while also doing stamina damage. Hearing the low sound that warns of a counterable attack, as well as the dramatic red flash that accompanies it, creates moments of suspense and sometimes panic as you frantically try to avoid disaster. Helping variety even further is the fact that you can actually do 3 different types of counters depending on the type of guardian spirit you have equipped, allowing players to find a method that's comfortable for them.
Hurry up, Hiddy! Grab the spirit stones. Let's get out of here.
When performing a burst counter, you briefly transition into a yokai form, which is something that can be called on for a longer amount of time, known as a Yokai Shift. It's essentially a super state where you ignore damage for a brief period and mercilessly pummel away. Yet even with its power, Yokai Shift has to be wielded very carefully. Just activating it and hoping for the best leads to underwhelming results, but those with patience will no doubt have moments when it clutches out a fight, making it valuable but not broken. Equally helpful are the soul cores players attach to guardian spirits. In addition to offering passive bonuses to your character, they allow you to summon forth a demonic attack, which if used effectively can cause tremendous damage. Soul core attacks vary greatly in range, speed, and power, blending smoothly into everything Nioh is about. Just as it's immensely rewarding to learn each weapon and to adapt to its individual style, the same is true of soul cores. It's another alluring piece of the character building puzzle. Beyond the practical implications, it's enjoyable to just watch these attacks play out. Briefly turning into an enemy that caused so much trouble and wreaking havoc is a special kind of satisfaction. The only problem with soul cores is that you may end up finding something to be too efficient. One core in particular, a giant snake, lays waste to everything from when it's acquired to the end of the game, spoiling some of the joy of experimentation. One of the biggest criticisms against Nioh is that it feels thin in regard to enemy types, and again, this is an aspect that Nioh 2 improves. The additions all bring sufficient menace, but it's a menace that is decidedly distinct. The gorilla-like Enki has an abundance of personality, twirling around the battlefield with its spear and leaping high into the air for furious attacks. Nioh slither all over the place, spewing poison, paralyzing you, and wrapping around you before taking a hefty chomp out of your face. As great as a lot of the designs are, what really helps them shine is more considerate placement. The level design of the main missions is generally more intricate than those found in Nioh 1. Many of these missions have a great flow to them, moving between more open areas to something like claustrophobic caves, where a monster like the aforementioned Nioh may be lying in wait atop the ceiling. There's also the new Dark Realm, segments of a level where enemies are not only more powerful, but stamina recovery is significantly impeded. It's easy to feel a small sense of dread while willingly walking into an area where you know you're at a disadvantage. These sections work as yet another ingredient to keep it all lively, serving as both a mechanical and visual mix-up, even if it's a minor one. While the design is definitely improved, there's still a weird feeling that Nioh 2 eventually plateaus, even if it does take a while. The sense of excitement and danger that first accompanies missions fades away, and instead, it all becomes business as usual. Such normalcy isn't terribly bad thanks to the competency of the core combat, but it isn't thrilling either. Perhaps the feeling is more pronounced if you have experience with Nioh 1, but even if that's true, Nioh 2 still has a tendency to rely on the same tricks. There are only so many times the game can hide a ranged enemy just out of sight before it's no longer a surprise. You start to reflexively scan every room, pull out a bow, and pop off some heads before moving on. What initially feels like being rewarded for caution becomes mere busywork after you see it repeatedly, and it's just one example of ideas running dry. Only accentuating the issue is the fact that side missions repeat areas you've already been through, or just pull them straight from the first game. One of the original Nioh's greatest strengths is its weapon diversity, and the same applies in the sequel. Every weapon is very different in both form and function, which is amplified by the 3 stances, and again amplified by the many skills you can unlock and fiddle with. Though there are only 2 brand new weapons, each is a valuable addition. The Switchglaive is particularly creative, completely changing style depending on the stance you're in, making it especially flashy as you flip between stances during fights. The twin hatchets are quick and versatile, allowing you to either get in close with a flurry of slashes or stand back and throw a hatchet at a monster's face, which, as it turns out, is a pretty good time. When combined with the tricky offerings ninjutsu provides, or the wide-ranging usefulness of magic, Nioh 2 gives an abundance of choice and makes it extremely easy to not only try out new things, but to fall in love with multiple options. It's simple to team up with either a random player or a friend, but know that doing so almost entirely neuters any challenge. Still, even with that in mind, having the choice is appreciated. Considering the length and difficulty of the game, turning it into a more relaxing affair is a welcome change of pace. Something new is the ability to call forth temporary NPC companions, which feels like a great middle ground between playing solo and summoning human allies. These NPCs are quite dumb and have a penchant for suicide, but still manage to take off a bit of the edge by drawing attention away from you, which can be helpful during tough situations like boss fights. The story of Nioh 2 is all over the place in more than one way. Thankfully, it doesn't take itself too seriously, inserting a fair amount of humor and providing opportunities for its goofy cast to shine. Yet it's hard to get too attached with what's going on. New characters sometimes disappear almost immediately, and you're also shuffled from one locale to the next in such a way that it can be disorienting. That isn't to say the story is all that hard to follow, and if anything, it's too simple, with its fairly basic themes and nothing remarkable about the presentation. However, you do make your own character instead of being stuck with the same guy as everyone else like before. It's a small feature, but it helps you care more about how you look since there's a greater amount of control. Your character also animates well during the many cutscenes. Even when considering its shortcomings, it's hard to deny the quality of Nioh 2 overall. There's a lot here, and considering how heavily the game leans on combat, it's very smart to offer the players so much freedom to find their own way forward. All of the weapons feel viable, and not only are there so many to choose from, but how you specifically wield each one and what you support those weapons with can vary significantly. While Nioh 2 doesn't have the same sort of spark that accompanied the original game, in many ways, it highlights why the series is special and refines the groundwork of what came before.
So, what'll it be? Come on, you got no place to be. Tag along. You showed that thing who's boss. What? You take a vow of silence? Sorry, I'm sorry. You sure you've got your reasons?
Easy Allies reviews are made possible by generous viewers just like you. If you like what you see, check out patreon.com/easyallies to help us make more. For just $1 a month, you can gain access to weekly updates, spoiler discussions, and exclusive shows. Review copy provided by PlayStation.